I remember the Welcome Home March from 1988. I was in Nambour, and that Anzac Day we led the march down the main street. And inside, it was the first march I'd been to in a long time. And people were coming off the footpaths on either side of the street, coming right over to us and applauding and saying good on you, mate, and all this type of stuff. And inside, I was screaming. I almost walked out of the parade. Why now? I came home in 1970. Why couldn't that kind of thing happen then? Not 18 years later. 18 years is too long. The damage has been done. So just them saying, "Oh, we're sorry," or "Welcome home." 18 years later, I didn't put much credence to that at all. I guess we are being looked after better now, and I've even had a guy that was in Malaya, an army guy. When I said that I don't think people have learnt anything from our experience, and he actually berated me for saying that. And he said, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't know what PTSD was, and we wouldn't have the support basis that we've got now. He said, I understand it was hard for you guys, but it would have been a lot harder for us if you hadn't have gone through it. I guess the support is there now. DVA look after us pretty well. But I think it gets back to too little too late. Yeah.
Yes, it was a very big learning journey for both of us, but I think the important part to Richard was that I wanted to learn about it with him and do what we could together to get him through this. If he had cancer or some other disease, I wouldn't walk away from him. And it's the same with this. As hard as it was, and it was incredibly hard, we have been to hell and back. But the thing is, we're back.
1995, and I was asked by a veterans advocate to go to a psychiatrist in Ipswich, and that was to assess whether I had PTSD or not. I disputed the fact that I had it, but I went into this guy. He went through the 10-point checklist, as most psychiatrists did in those days, and said, yes, you've got it. That was it. He just gave the tick to say that I had PTSD and just let me walk out. Caused me a lot of concern. I still disagreed with what he had said, simply because he put it all down to the actual service in Vietnam. And I said, I don't believe that's right, because I was doing my job up there. It was, yes, there were some horrific things that were seen and that were done, but I was still doing my job, and I believe I did it well. It was actually coming home that was the trauma for me. Getting back here and finding my family had ostracised me, that they didn't want to talk about it. and were telling everybody else that I didn't want to talk about it. So I was never allowed to get out what was inside me. Yeah, it just sort of left me in limbo. There was nothing. I was out of the Air Force, of course, at that time. So there was no real help. I went to my local doctor and they said, "What's PTSD?" So then that started quite a concerted effort to research it, find out what it was, find out whether it can be cured, and there was so little information out there about it. Nobody understood. Nobody didn't want us to understand. I would go to psychiatrists who, in one case, only knew about the Vietnam conflict by the things his father told him over the dinner table. So I knew he wasn't going to be much help. He wouldn't have an understanding of what went on. Another psychiatrist said I was malingering, and that anybody that said that they had PTSD were malingerers. They compared us to World War II combat people, saying it was probably just shell shock or, just memories of the things that we had seen. So then I had one psychiatrist, which was I think the straw that broke the camel's back, said basically, look, just go home, vegetate and die, because there's nothing we can do for you. You just have to get on with it. You've got it, it can't be cured. So go and live your life out. That was hurtful, extremely hurtful, very unprofessional, I might add. It was then that's about when I tried suicide. I put a gun to my head, but I didn't pull the trigger because of my dog. I was sitting outside on a bench, and when I put the gun up to my head, he just walked straight out and put his head on my knee, and that sort of dragged me out of it, I guess. Zuche knew that I was hurting, and he was always by my side, and I thank him for getting me through that period. He just seemed to know that if I was in a really bad state, he would just come and sit beside me so that my hand could just touch his head and I could just pat him. So the power of dogs is something I would never dispute.
Photography was very therapeutic for him. He's had a camera ever since he was a little fella, and I think his dad showed him how to take photos. So he always had an interest in it. But when he was somewhat better and was able to get out of the house, because before that he couldn't even walk to the letterbox or answer the phone, he decided he wanted to do something that was helpful to other people who were going through things. So he started teaching photography to people with disabilities, and it was just like lifting a curtain for him. It was just wonderful that he got so much joy out of them getting so much joy. He had a lady who cried when she took a photo. I think she had cerebral palsy, and he said, "Oh, why are you crying?" And she said, "I'm 48 years old and no one's ever let me touch a camera before." So being able to bring that kind of joy to people was so beneficial to him, so beneficial. And then he started teaching kids with disabilities how to use a camera. And that was amazing as well for him. So he had a sense of purpose. It gave him a sense of purpose, that what he was doing was valuable not just to him, but it was valuable to other people.
I picked up my camera and lost myself in photography. I then started calling it my weapon of choice. You know, I'm still going around shooting people, but in a pleasant way. Getting your name known as a reasonable artist, I guess. An exhibition at Botanique has also provided me the opportunity of doing a book for the Botanical Gardens. They asked if they could publish a book of my photos from there. So that's exciting. That's really nice. It's an acceptance. You feel accepted, and I guess with PTSD, that's a huge thing, a really big thing. We finally got to go to Vietnam. Karen did want to see where I had been.
I felt really emotional that I was going to this place that had been so paramount in his life for so long. Just to see where that was, so he could point out that's where our base was, that's where the front gate was, this is where the rec area was, and this is where the choppers flew over, and oh, we flew over here and did this. And it was, I've seen photos of him as this young, vibrant man, and to be able to almost play a video in my head of seeing him get into the choppers and go and do these things in that part of his life before he was injured. It was just so special, and I felt so honoured that he would share that with me. And I felt, I don't know the word for it, but I felt, I guess, honoured that after we'd done that, he could say, okay, that I've put that behind me now. I don't need to come back to here. The ghosts are gone. I can put it to bed. I hope he can. But it was wonderful that he would share that with me, and that would mean so much to him, that he could now put it away, and I could put that last piece of the jigsaw puzzle in. And I said, you know, I drew on his chest. I drew a jigsaw puzzle piece on his chest, and I said, I'm super gluing it in. That's the last piece now. You're whole. And I get it. I understand it. And his question was, do you understand why this place and these people are so special to me? I get it.
We decided that we would renew our vows. We've got our 20-year anniversary coming up in May next year. So we did. We did it by ourselves. I bought Karen a Oye, I believe it's called, which is the traditional Vietnamese outfit. We renewed our vows on the end of a jetty. Nobody else around. And that was really good, because it gave me a feeling of completion, I suppose, a feeling of going the full circle, that I've been there under adverse circumstances before. But I think this just put the icing on the cake. I now have a wonderful memory. Came away from there saying, that's the finish of it. I have no further concerns about Vietnam in my mind. There are still memories, but they're not dragging me down. I'm not reliving them. I'm not dreaming about them. I think meeting a captain and a major from the North Vietnamese Regular Army, who were fighting in the province at that particular time when I was there, having met both of those guys, sitting down drinking tiger beer with them in the captain's house in Berea, was sort of surreal, but it also showed me that they've moved on too. There's no animosity there whatsoever. Yet both of these guys. One was actually in the Battle of Long Tan and was wounded by an Australian. The other ordered one of our choppers to be shot down. He admits it was a mistake. He has apologised. He's even apologised to the crewman that was on that particular aircraft. So the fact that they have moved on, and it's quite obvious that they have. I have no desires to go back to Vietnam for anything related to the war. It's finished. My only concerns now is what happened after I came home. Yeah.